Hey everybody, welcome to Cousin Jack Carves. Today we're going to start on a Snow Lady tutorial, help you to make your own Christmas ornament or even a freestanding figure. So 2 years ago, we did a tutorial on this snowman. And this was a figure, of course, not an ornament so much, but a freestanding figure. And it was based on a design by Mike Shipley from this book here. It's a great book. If you have an opportunity to get your hands on it, I recommend it. A lot of good patterns and designs in here. So today we're going to actually be working on something that's more of my own design, and that's this little Snow Lady ornament here. Now you can see I've done some other ornaments. This, for example, snowman is not a freestanding figure. It's an ornament. And this Snow Lady is a freestanding figure. What we're doing today is a little more versatile because not only is it designed to be an ornament, it can also stand and be a freestanding figure for your holiday decor or Christmas ornament. Take your pick. And I have the pattern here that I'll be sharing with you. We're going to start with a piece of basswood. And we're going to whittle this little Snow Lady. Now, the basswood that I'm using today is 4.5 inches in length. And it's from a piece that's 1.5 square, but it is cut on the diagonal. So you can see here, this would have been a 1.5 inch square piece. Now, you can cut yours on the bandsaw, or if you don't have the bandsaw, the good folks at Heineke Lumber, you can order from them. They will do this cut for you at no extra charge when you're ordering your basswood. I do recommend their products. They have a great hunk of basswood and also very good customer service. So now when you do cut this on the diagonal, this 1.5 inch square gives you 2 inches of width across the back here. It's kind of neat how that works out. So we'll be making some marks to help us along the way today. First thing I would recommend is making some center lines on the top and then also on the bottom of your piece, right like that. Then along the bottom, you want to come in 1/4 inch from each side, make a little dot, and then come 1/4 inch off of the front and make a dot, and kind of draw yourself this arc, just like that. That's going to be this piece right here, your bottom of your Snow Lady. Well, and that'll make it a freestanding carving if you need it to be freestanding. Okay? Now, other marks that we're going to make today. So we're going to come up the side of our piece. Well, first of all, let's mark that 1/4 inch that we just marked on the bottom. You're going to make a little dot, 1/4 inch from the side, come in, make a dot, and then go up 3/4 on the side, make a mark at the 3/4 inch spot. Then go up 1 1/4, make a mark, and then we're going to go up one more time, 2 1/4, and make a mark here. Okay? Now, I have actually made these marks on the back of my piece here, and I've actually come in here and sort of traced around this ornament so you can get an idea about the size and the shape. And of course, I put in a center line across the back too. So here's our 3/4 mark, 1 3/4, and then 2 1/4. Now, from these marks, we're going to kind of get our outline of our body of the Snow Lady. So we're going to make a dot here, here, and then when we get to this mark where we've measured up 1 3/4, we're going to come in 1/4 of an inch, about 6 millimeters, and that's where we're going to make a dot. And then where we have that line here, where we marked 2 1/4 inches from the bottom, 2 1/4 inches, come in 1/2 inch and make a mark there. And then just pencil in, connect the dots kind of, get the shape of this body, just like that, okay? Now, you'll do that on both sides, of course. There are a couple of other marks we're going to make, and we're going to measure from the top down at this point, okay? So measuring from the top down, right along this center ridge line here, come down 1/2 inch and make a mark. Then come down 1 1/4 inches, make a mark. That's going to be the center of our nose. This up here will be the top of the face, by the way. So then right there is the nose. And then from the top, we measure down 2 inches and make a mark. That's going to be the bottom of the face. Now we have that nose marked right here. And what I want you to do, you're going to draw a circle around that. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle, but make sure you leave space to carve that nose. And as always, you want to draw it bigger than what you're going to make it. Now from that mark, excuse me, we're going to measure out 3/4 of an inch from this mark, and we're going to make a dot here. Now that dot, again, is 1 1/4 from the top down, and 3/4 of an inch out to the side of that nose. And you're going to make that mark on the other side too. And then we can just kind of draw in this rough shape for what will be the face, okay? Now, around that face, you can see I've put in a pencil line. We're going to basically leave about 1/2 inch and just kind of sketch a good 1/2 inch outside of there. This is going to be the hoodie portion that goes around that face, sort of the parka. Well, all right, let me go ahead and put in my other marks here, and I'll be right back. We'll start whittling. All right, you have your knife all stropped up and ready to go. Gloves, hopefully, and a thumb guard. Let's start whittling. So we'll just start doing some shaping. And we want to establish the nose, of course. So we want to make sure we leave as much material as possible for that nose. So let's establish that nose. We'll come in here at the bottom of that circle, just put in a stop cut there, and slice up to it. I want to do the same thing above that nose, just make a stop cut there and slice to it. So we just want to make sure we establish that. It's a kind of a reminder as well for us that we don't want to carve that off. We want to save that. Now we can already take off some of this ridge though, right? That pointy part we don't really need. We're going to be rounding this body. You can see that wants to split out because it wants to go the other way. The grain, when your knife starts grabbing like that, it's kind of a clue, right? So we're just going to be rounding this anyway, so we'll just take that off. Now, I'm going to come in here, start shaping these sides. Again, this is going to be, some rounding that we're going to be doing. And we can kind of start shaping that top while we're at it. Hopefully you're enjoying your holiday season this year. I know that a lot of folks are very active with their carving around the holidays, making gifts for folks and really enjoying the season. I can tell you many years ago, I started carving ornaments out of our Christmas tree. It happened one year, our daughter Jordan, our older daughter, and we have two. Shelby's the younger, but Jordan, one year we had a real Christmas tree. You know, always enjoy the smell of a Christmas tree. And she looked at the tree and she said, "I wish we could keep it forever." And that started me thinking, why don't I just save a piece of this tree and carve an ornament out of that? And so I did. And in the years since then, there have been a number of years where I've carved ornaments from previous year's Christmas tree. It's kind of fun, a little bit of a family tradition. That is something you could do too if you have a real tree. I can tell you some trees are easier to carve than others. I have found that the Fraser fir seems to be pretty good for carving. And we've had some others over the years. We have had the noble fir. That seemed to be a little more dense and sturdy. A little bit more of a challenge to carve, but you can do it. Okay, just continuing to shape this. Doesn't take long, right? Let's work on the other side. You can see we made that arch early on, right? So we're going to be bringing this down some as we go. This top squared away. Well, not squared, rounded away. Now, you could use a rough out knife for starting this project. Today I'm using a Helvey medium detail knife. It's large enough really for this piece. I'm just using a paring cut right here. I've shown this in a lot of my videos. It's a cut that I use a lot, and I think a lot of carvers do. It's pretty simple. You're going to anchor your thumb and move your hand, just like that. It's coming straight in right there. So this is all about shaping. We want to spend some time roughing out the shape. That's the foundation. When you're learning how to whittle, it's sometimes difficult, but you have to have some patience, okay? And get a good foundation before you start putting in details. Now, one of the first things, probably the first thing we did, was establish where that nose will be, but we didn't put any detail into it, right? We just said, okay, that's going to be where the nose is. And now we're roughing out the shape. And this, like I said, kind of started 2 years ago. Actually started this channel 2 years ago. And my first tutorial series was a snowman, which, if you're interested in, I'll put a link to it at the top of the page. And that tutorial was where we carved this little guy using a flex cut detail knife. And yeah, it was a fun project. So now we've gotten pretty far into our shaping on these sides. I want to bring this front part down some. We have some more rounding to do. Let's clean off this line here. There we go. So we want to get rid of some of this flat area. Of course, we want to get those bandsaw marks out of there. Now, you can see here this shape along the side, right? We have this curve that's happening where the body curves in here, where the neck would be. And we want to sort of make sure we get that curve coming in here too, all right? So for example, we want this to be where that neck would be. So we want this to come curving in some, and then down at the bottom, of course, we want to curve in some here too. So let's come up to where that mark is, where the neck would be. We'll just give it a little stop cut right there, okay? And come in just like that. And then just continue that, kind of connect it to the side. Same thing on this side. Just like that. And slice up to it. Well, there we go. And we'll start getting some curvature in here. So then now when we look at this profile, you can see we're starting to get that to curve in, right? We'll do the same thing at the bottom, where we know we have this curving going on the side. We want the curve here in the front. We're just taking a series of cuts here. You can kind of see starting to curve a little bit here at the bottom. And then along that bottom, some additional sort of beveled cuts. You can see where we had that pencil line earlier. We're getting right down to it. Yep, getting pretty close. Nice. Okay. So let's continue with our rounding on this body. And for some of this work, I'm going to go ahead and switch out my knife. I'm going to use an upsweep. So this right here, you can see the upsweep on that blade. This is a Dave Lyons upsweep knife that I picked up from Bigfoot Carving Supplies. Now, with an upsweep knife on a flat surface like this, you can actually get quite a bit of this flat surface. You can reach easier than you can with a regular straight blade because of the blade profile itself and the cutting edge. The shape of it enables that. On this piece right here, the grain wants to run the other direction, so we'll just turn this around. So it's worthwhile to have a nice upsweep knife in your toolbox. I have a couple of them. I have a Helvey rough out sweep, and I have this Dave Lyons upsweep knife. And we'll just continue working on this side. Same thing though, the grain wants to run opposite direction. And a lot of this work will be removing some bandsaw marks, right? You could even do some of this work with a gouge if you decided to. Nothing wrong with that. Whatever makes the work go faster for you or simpler. It's nice to have a variety of tools. But with this project, you really don't need a gouge for any of the work. You can do it all with a knife. So let's see, I'm gonna just continue with some rounding here and remove a little more from this center. That's the easiest way to get some roundness going here with this snowman. Or Snow Lady, I should say. And of course, as we do this, we bring this center down some. It changes the profile that we had going earlier, where we had that curving, right? Just be aware. And we can fix that. We can make some more modifications, let's say. Don't want to take too much though from this center part because we have this coat and you can see the little bit of a rise here for the trim on the coat. So we want to leave some material for that. And why don't we go ahead and sort of put that coat, pencil that in where it will be, okay? So with this, we're just going to measure up a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the Snow Lady. Kind of make a mark on each side, okay? Just a 1/2 inch up. Make a mark. We're just going to pencil in that mark. This is going to be the bottom of the coat. And of course, it comes together in the center. Now, it's okay to have a little angle, like angling from high to low. That's by design, the way I did it here. So you can see it rides up a little bit on the hips. So then we have our center right here. We know where that ridge was. We can kind of just put a pencil mark. And of course, we have a reference on the bottom of our piece, which is very helpful. We can just put a pencil mark and then just sort of rough in a center line for our coat, okay? Like that. Now, all we'll do now is just come out about a 1/4 inch from that center line to each side, which is about 6 millimeters, okay? And just start penciling in where that trim will be. Now, this center of this coat is going to be rounded here, okay? Going both directions. It won't be square, it's going to be rounded. And so when we pencil in our mark here, we're going to round off the corner like this, right? And bring that trim out like that. And of course, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Come out from this center line about 6 millimeters, 1/4 of an inch. Just like that. We're going to round that corner right there. Okay? So there we go. Now what we'll do next is spend a little time bringing that out. And to do that, we remove material around it, okay? Piece of cake. Put the glove back on, thumb guard. Now I want cake. I shouldn't have said that. I want cake. All right, so, you know, I told you earlier I have the pattern. I'm going to share it with you, so why don't I do that? This is the original conceptual drawing that I did in my journal that Sunny gave to me. You can see it's 4.5 inches by 2 inches wide. And we'll be working on this face a little bit later. You can see I actually drew this on October 16th of 22. So that's the pattern we're working from, okay? So let's bring out that coat. And the first thing we'll do is put in our stop cuts, okay? So we'll just come in here on that line we drew, put our tip of our knife in there and just draw it down just like this. Now we're gonna disengage here. When we get near the bottom, we're not going all the way down to that bottom. We're gonna come over here on this edge, just rock the knife a little bit on the edge, okay? And then work in towards that center. And we're gonna curve, remember we're curving that corner up to the line that we made earlier with that stop cut. Let's do the same thing on the other side. We'll just come up to the top here, put the tip of the knife in, draw it down, close to that corner, but stop short. All right. Put a little cut here into the side like this. And then continue that stop cut. Coming in towards that corner, and then just turning that blade to curve. Now, we also want to put a stop cut along the bottom of the coat, right? So we'll just kind of come in here and, well, let's start from the edge. Take that knife onto the edge, just rock it a little bit, and then come on in here with that stop cut. Now, even though we're going to round that coat in the center, I'm just going to continue that stop cut. Then I'll come over here onto this side, and again, just rock the knife a little bit on the edge and meet my other line. All right, let's start taking away some material in order to bring out the trim on this coat. Now with this, this trim probably stands out, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch higher, let's say, than the body of the coat. But we definitely want to have some separation. And to do that, like I said, we have to remove some material. I'm gonna use my little upsweep knife again here. It's really good for tight spots. So yeah, if you do not have an upsweep knife, you might want to consider picking one up. Like I said, this is a Dave Lyons upsweep. And there are a lot of makers that have a version of an upsweep knife that you can find. Okay. So we're just going to continue with our work to remove some of this material around this coat. And as I work on this, I'm going to be quiet for a bit here, and that will enable Sunny to sort of speed this up for you. All right. Okay, so we're on our way to roughing out the shape, and we're sort of starting to add a little bit of detail here into the body by putting in the trim on this coat. There are some opportunities here for us to add some depth, and this is a great way to add detail. All right, and you may have seen this before in some of my other videos. We have a little triangle situation going right here. We're going to put in the tip of the knife from this side of that triangle. And we'll come in here from the opposite side of that triangle, right here. Sort of put that tip of the knife in. And then last thing we're going to do is make a cut and pop that out. And that's a great way to add some depth. We have a similar situation here and here. So we'll do that right now. So we'll bring our knife in from this angle with the tip, just like that. And come in here from this angle. Okay. And again, we will pop out a little triangle. You can see I've got a little piece of wood here in the way. Just trim that off. All right, let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. Hit it from that side. Come back at it here. And then for me, I'll be carving upside down. There we go. And so that's going to give us that depth there. Now, of course, we want to put in a center line where that coat meets. Okay. This is going to be sort of a little V cut. So I'm going to angle my blade towards the center just a little bit, just a slight angle, and come down the length of that pencil line, just like this. Okay. Turn around again, angle my blade in towards that center line and come back at it from this direction. This will help us to bring out that separation where the coat comes together. See that? Now, we've removed some material to help bring out that trim on this Snow Lady's coat. What we want to do with that is refine that a little bit. And by that, what I mean is we're going to sort of angle it now. So we've got these sharp edges along this trim. And by angling it, we're just going to angle that blade a little bit. We're going to remove the pencil line at the same time, but we're also sort of rounding the edge on that trim. Just like that. We do the same thing on all the edges of that trim. Just kind of round, get rid of that sharp edge. This is material, it's kind of a cloth material in the imagination, right? So we don't want it to have sharp edges. Just gonna round it some. We do that on the inside here where we just put in that mark for that separation as well. Just with the tip of the knife, just rounding a little bit. If your grain wants to run the other direction, you'll know it, you'll feel it. Just turn it around, come at it from the other side. So we're making some pretty good progress, folks. I think this is a good spot for us to stop for today. Just getting this shape roughed out. In our next video, we'll finish this up. And to do that, of course, we'll put in the face. We'll give our Snow Lady a look and a smile. And I'm going to show you how to make this parka fur, as well as this trim here on the body of the Snow Lady, on the coat. And we'll have a good time. And that should be enough to wrap it all up. So I want to thank you all for watching. If you have a second, please, below this video, if you would, just give it a thumbs up. The like button will really make a difference. It helps other carvers see this video. Thanks for coming along, folks. We'll see you next time.